What is going on, everyone? This is going to be the first of what I'm calling BattleTech Aces Quick Strikes. Is that a good name? I don't know. I'm not that creative. But basically, what this will be is a quick video, quick by my standards, where I'm just going to go through a single unit's Aces card and just show you the movement just for that one unit and one behavior. And we're just going to see what happens. I'm going to try to pick some interesting ones, but they're pretty much all interesting. And I saw somebody in the Catalyst Discord asking about this. They said it'd be really cool if there were like 3 to 5 minute videos where they just showed one example, one scenario of one Aces unit moving. And I thought, that sounds like a job for me. Well, except for keeping it to 3 to 5 minutes, but I'm going to do the best I can. So here is the terrain I set up. Got a nice city. Try to use all my Hex Tech terrain and my, really fancy Etsy trees. And I've got the Federated Suns on one side. Those are going to be the player units. And I've got the Clan Wolf Beta Galaxy on the other. Those will be the aces. All right, let me show you what I got set up and we'll do a card. All right, here's the map setup. I did move some of the units around a little bit just so it wasn't all the player force on this side, all of the enemy force on this side. So just to mix things up a little bit and make it interesting. And we're just going to say this is in the middle of a mission. I don't know exactly what turn, but the units have had some time to move around the map and really position themselves in a good way. So on this particular turn, we're going to say that this Shadow Cat is up first. And the Javelin on the player side has moved and jumped behind this Timberwolf and put itself up against this building. And the Rifleman down here has taken its little sniper nest and moved into there. And so that's where we're going to start things. And we're going to go with the Shadow Cat. And so we're going to first try to figure out which behavior it's going to use. And the first one says for aggressive, if the ideal blue, which is the Javelin, it has the highest TMM. Now it has that TMM because it jumped. And there was a little discussion on the Catalyst Discord about when it's looking for lowest TMM or highest TMM, do you differentiate between after movement TMM and what's on the card? Because on the card for the Javelin, it would be a 2, but since it jumped, it's a 3. So my approach is always whatever the dice shows is its current TMM. And even if that's a little higher than it's on the card, it's going to use that to evaluate. So we're going to say that does qualify for the blue list. It has moved. So the question is, can this unit move to attack it without being in any moved enemy's attack range? And I don't think that is possible. So the only places it could really try to do that, because that would mean it'd have to be behind the Javelin. But because it's right up against this building, I don't think the Shadow Cat could move to attack it in any way. The best place it could go would be here to have a shot at it, but I don't think it has quite enough movement. And I'll show you here. I will measure this out. It has 16 inches of ground movement, and it just doesn't have enough to get around that building enough to see that Javelin. So unfortunately, that's not going to work for it. So we're going to have to go into the middle of the card and do balance movement. So we just need that the ideal blue has moved, which it has. And then it's going to go out 16 inches and then 22 inches and 28 to find a blue target that has moved, and it can attack when it's done moving. And that is going to be the Javelin. If I go out, that's only about 11 or 12 inches. The Rifleman is beyond 16 inches. So it's going to select the Javelin as its target. So its first order of business is to use ground movement and get in the fewest enemy targeting ranges. Now, this is going to be complicated because of the position of the player units on the map. So what I'm going to do for these is I'm going to use colored dice to mark a region that I'm thinking about as a potential for movement. So immediately coming to mind is going to be a place like right here next to the building. If it were to move out a little bit and go somewhere like this, it can use this building to shield itself from these, potentially from the Valkyrie down here, maybe from the Hatchet Man, maybe from the Centurion, but it's going to be tricky to get all of them. So I'm thinking if it went to about here, it would probably have the Valkyrie, the Hatchet Man, and the Javelin, of course. So probably have 3. I'm going to mark the dice with a 3 because I think there's about 3 units that could see it from there. If it moved this way to get the Valkyrie out of there, the Centurion would be able to see it toward the northwest. So I think that would be about 3. If it tried to move this way and use this building instead, it could again shield itself from these two, could maybe shield itself from the Valkyrie. And in that case, it might have the Centurion and the Javelin only. So that could get us down to 2. So I'll put 2 on this green dice here, right about there. It could maybe move itself this way as well, and it would have the Valkyrie in its line of sight and a Javelin, but not the Centurion. So either way, if we go into this general area, it's going to be about 2 right there. It definitely has enough movement to get behind this hatchet man, and it could tuck itself behind that hillside there. And if it was able to do that successfully, it might only have the javelin in its attack range. So I'm definitely going to mark that one. I'm going to say that's possibly a 1 up there. I'd have to check where the Battle Master can see if it could maybe see a little bit of it to get partial cover, but I think it could hide itself back there pretty well and might only have the javelin that can see it. And another place I'm thinking is maybe right here if it took itself under this bridge between the 2 buildings and it put itself up against this side. That would also be a 1 if it got there. Only the javelin could see it. I mean, obviously it has to be able to see it to attack it, but this would block these 2 down here. The Valkyrie wouldn't be able to see it if I positioned it right. The Centurion can't see it. The Hatchet Man could probably see it from there. Okay, we're going to switch that to a 2. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this green dice into here and say if it moved here, it would have 2. And then I'll use this orange dice. I think if it went on this side and use this side of the building, it would have 2. And feel free to play along here. Like I'm sure maybe you're seeing some places that I'm not. And, so see if you can pick out any places where it could go. But based on this, I think it would choose to go behind that hill. This is a level 1. I don't know if you can tell so much on the video, but it would be able to see over this lower part of the hill and it would be able to see the javelin. And I don't think anything else would have it in targeting range. It would just be the javelin. I checked the line of sight from the battle master and from the rifleman. They would see this level 2 here, which would hide the shadow cat. So if I move it back there, it's going to have this level 2 here blocking the 2 of them. The centurion can't see it. The hatchet man can't see it because it's facing this direction. So only the javelin would be able to see it there. So I think that would be our choice. Now, the other priorities it has, or the other filters, would be to get cover versus as many enemies as possible. This position here, let's say that could have 2 enemies that would see it. This wouldn't really give cover per se. It could block enemies, but if other enemies moved, it'd be hard for them to actually get cover. Whereas this one here, pretty much anything that moves except for the Hatchet Man would probably have a cover penalty against a Shadow Cat. And then from there, it also wants no enemies, no unmoved enemies within 12 inches. There's almost nowhere on this map it could go and not have at least 1 unmoved enemy within 12 inches. Maybe if it just went out this direction, but it really can't get to the javelin if it goes that way. And then it wants to get closer to the target, but again, given the first priority, which is to get in the fewest enemy targeting ranges, it just isn't really going to be able to get closer to this, unfortunately. So yeah, I think based on my search, it's going to choose to go up here. Now, of course, it's opening itself up. If it has to target the javelin, it would have to get proper facing. It could try to do something like this. That might be its best bet. But that hatchet man and the centurion can both probably get really good positioning on it, and that's where it's going to go. So yeah, I think that's the position. Let me know what you think about that. If you saw any places I didn't, and let me know what you think about this format. If you like it, if you like just seeing a quick Aces card review and where a unit would move, or where at least I think the unit would move. Maybe I didn't do it perfectly. If you like it, let me know. I'd be happy to keep doing them. It's kind of fun, actually. All right, thanks for watching.